This weekend I had a chance to go to a class held by Patriot Performance Shooting in Connecticut. The class was practical rifle skills, and I really appreciated the time that I got to spend there. This is going to be a bit of an after-action report, I guess. And I wanted to talk about some of my takeaways from the class. First off, I want to thank the instructor, Frank. I had a great time there. I appreciate your instruction. It was both professional and fun and safe. It was all of those. So I really appreciate the time that you spent, and I look forward to training with you again. A couple of takeaways from the class. First off, I'm going to throw some footage in here. Frank was gracious enough to let me record video while I was at the class. I really appreciate that. I didn't get a whole ton of video. The day was just incredibly hot, and that's a bit of a theme that's going to go on through this. But I really appreciate the opportunity to record. If you're taking a class with someone, it's polite to ask them if you can record video, because that is what they are selling. They're selling the instruction, they're selling the class. The instruction that you get in a class like this is going to be the value that I was looking for out of this. So in order to be the best I could be, to get the most out of the class, I brought a notebook. I didn't use it as much as I was hoping for, but it was good to have, and I would definitely go back again. So first thing that I did before I went to the class was I had a pack list. So most of the shooting that I did was done with this firearm. This is a Connecticut Other AR-15 type gun, unloaded. This is my unicorn gun. Anyway, this firearm has a Holosun red dot sight on it. I was running a 3x magnifier flip to the side Holosun as well that I like, and I ended up taking that off because it was just a little too heavy for most of the shooting we were doing. We did work some height over bore stuff with this, which I have had a lot of dry fire practice with, and it showed, thankfully. You can practice with that by literally measuring your height over bore, and at close range putting 2 marks of tape on a wall, and while you're aiming for that bottom piece, put your dot on the top piece, and that's where your bullet will impact. And then just practice that range out to distance, so as you approach your 0, it's going to get closer and closer. So if you're zeroed at 50 yards like this, 50-yard dot goes right where it's supposed to be. 25 yards is half of that total height over bore. So if it's a 2-inch bore to center of the red dot, then 25 yards is 1 inch, and all the way at 0 is 2 inch. So you can just kind of do the math on that. You can eyeball it. What I like about a 50-yard 0 is that inside of 50 yards, just hold kind of here, and the bullet will impact kind of here-ish, and that's perfect. It is difficult in headshots. If you're looking for that kind of shot, you have to hold kind of up here. So you just got to practice that. By headshots, I'm talking about silhouette target shooting, not actual people. Secondary gun that I only ran for a brief amount of time is this. This is my Tactical Machine AR-15 14.5 inch rifle, actual rifle. Registered in the state of Connecticut as an assault rifle, which I don't like, but it is cool that I have one. So this has a Primary Arms GLX 2X prism scope and an offset red dot. The offset I had an opportunity to sight in. Top sight was perfectly sighted in at 50 yards, and it's got the BDC and everything in there, and it works great. It's also such minor magnification that you can still shoot both eyes open, and it works really well. So this gun I ran only at the 50-yard line when we were doing standing to kneeling drills, and I stopped because, oh boy, it's heavy. It's got this full length, rifle length rail on here, quad rail, so it's extra heavy, which is really nice in that it looks cool. You can get your hand up really far on this. I only used to about here, but you've got more rail space on that for stuff like a flashlight. and which is nice and dirty, and pin welded muzzle brake, so it is nice and obnoxious to all the people around you. Now seriously though, it's a little front heavy, and it's not a great gun for holding out like this for long periods of time. My primary pistol, and the only pistol that I ended up shooting there's not a lot of pistol in the class, is this. This is my kind of Gucci custom Glock. This is a Timberwolf Compact Gen 1 frame with a Timberwolf Lone Wolf UAT Ultimate Adjustable Trigger, Lone Wolf lower parts kit with the exception of a couple of Glock Gen 4 parts in here like the ejector. The upper is a Zev Duty Gen 3 slide, and Holosun 507C, Trijicon HD night sights, which do co-witness into the very low cut Trijicon cut for the Zev slide, Streamlight TLR1 HL, great little pistol. Again, didn't do a lot of shooting. This guy was flawless. Though I didn't shoot it, I also brought my Glock 19C. Didn't need it, but it's good to have a backup that can run in the same holsters that your primary gun uses. I'm not going to go deep into the belt because battle belts aren't really my thing, but I was wearing a battle belt with a Safariland 6354 DO holster. I did have to customize the optic cut on here with the Dremel. These do have to be slightly dremeled to fit, but it's an ALS system and works. There it goes. I'm just trying to do this in the viewfinder. It does work with the 19 and 17 size pistols with a light. So, and it's got that ALS lock on it. Great holster. Still have to get good at reholstering, but the only time I'm ever going to reholster is when there's no thread around, so I have time to look at the holster and put it in. I'm not a cop. I don't have to holster and then cuff anyone. The ammo that I shot was this Wolf Polyformance, made in Russia, 223 Remington, 55 grain FMJ, steel case, Baird & Prime, non-corrosive, 500 rounds ammo. Nowhere on here does it say, and I looked here and on, sorry, I'm sweating so much, it's really hot. Does it say that it's bimetal ammo? But it is, go figure. After a bit of research, apparently it is a steel jacket ammo. Not just steel case, but steel jacket plated with copper. You can use steel to plate the copper, so you don't have to use as much copper. It's cheaper, and you get a steel jacket. It's not steel core. That said, when you go to ranges like this and they say don't use bimetal ammo, be really careful. There's a good way you can check. You can use a magnet and see if the ammo holds onto the magnet, which that does. Anyway, I told Frank if I messed up one of his targets, I'm sorry. I'll pay for it, and hey, I'll get a target out of it. A messed up target, but whatever. But I hope that's not the case. Took some pictures, didn't look so bad, but it's his prerogative, it's his target.
I brought some ice water. I brought half as much water as I needed. I brought about half a gallon of water, and then some iced tea and energy drink and some other stuff, and a bucket, essentially like a 5-gallon bucket size cooler of ice. And the ice kept my water cold and kept my Shemagh cold, and I ended up going through much more water than I had. Thank you to Frank for bringing a cooler and water for people. It was oppressive and hot and gross, and I should have brought more water, and I'll do that next time. Hearing and eye protection. Eye protection, I brought my Oakleys with transition lenses. They fit great on my head. The lenses work great. I was sweating profusely, and sweat was dripping down into the glasses, and it was hard to see, and I had to regularly take them off to clean them up, and that was a mess. Hearing protection, I doubled up. I have Surefire EP4 inner ear, and then I was wearing 3M Peltors on top of that, and the 3M electronic hearing protection. The batteries died about 5 minutes into the class. So I had to keep turning it off and turning it back on, and then I would get it for a couple more, like 2 minutes, and then it was going just constant low battery warning and then recharging and all that. I had rechargeable batteries in there, rechargeable AAAs instead of standard AAAs. I think that was causing some of the issues. So next time what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get some standard lithium AAA batteries, throw them in my range bag, and they will be good to go. I brought a camera bag and tripod for some of the footage, and that was extra. If I had to do it again, I would get better footage, but I was just overwhelmed with the heat and shooting, and I just wasn't thinking about taking video. I'm not going to go over too many of the things in the class that we ended up doing because I think this is Frank's content, and I don't want to kind of give away too much of his stuff. I will say it was a properly done entry-level class. It wasn't, there wasn't a lot of shooting and moving. There was moving and then shooting. There wasn't shooting on the move stuff. But I was still able to find, and while I've done a couple of classes already, I was able to find a lot of good value in the class. I was able to find a lot of places where I really did notice myself starting to come to a point of failure. Slow fire, I was fine at. We started off with slow fire and height over bore stuff, and from close in distances. Then we moved back to 25 and 50 yards. We shot from the prone. We did some sitting, some drop into a knee stuff, drop into different knees. Then we did some back to closer in, pistol to rifle transitions, and failure drills. And the failure drills, I wish I took more notes on that, because those were some really cool things that we got to do. And I need to practice those. He showed us how to set them up safely. He showed us how to clear them and the mechanism for that. And it was a really good benefit. So I also noticed one of the things that I'm doing as far as takeaways is when I drop to a knee, I got to get better at going into certain positions, certain known positions. I also have to, when I'm doing a failure drill, I'm up on target, and there's a click instead of a bang, and I have a pistol. I don't need to assess what's going on with the gun. I know it's not working. What I was doing was I was going to click, and then just instinctually I was checking the ejection port to see what was going on, which is wasted movement at that point, and then dropping the gun, drawing my pistol, and shooting. I need to just get myself out of the habit of that wasted movement. Other than that, there were a couple other takeaways that I had from the class, but overall it was a hugely positive experience, and I look forward to training with Frank again. If you guys have a chance to train, I'll leave a link to his YouTube channel down below, and definitely check him out and check out other classes in your area as well if you aren't in the Northeast. Stay safe out there, everyone. I will see you in the next video.